Yo, 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 ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting edition of the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm your boy, Double B Bad Blood, the franchise player, joined once again by my boy, Tony DeBurn. Tony, what's up?
Not a whole lot going on here. What's going on with you?
Oh, man, it's been an exciting week here at the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. I mean, look, excitement galore, man. Like tonight, we got a legend's daughter. We got a woman that is blazing the trail to become a legendary wrestler herself. We're talking about the Freebird, the Badstreet Beauty, Miranda Gordy herself. Next week, live on the podcast, we have NWA official and SWE Fury official, the legendary James Beard, appearing live on the podcast next week, plus some other surprise guests.
And as a matter of fact, we actually have we got a short little promo from Mr. Beard, and we'll be showing that a little bit later on in the show. So stay tuned for that.
Also, ladies and gentlemen, we just got accepted. We got offered a spot on Pandora. So not only you can get us on Spotify, you can get us on Google, you can get us on Apple, you can get us on iHeartRadio, and now Pandora. Man, the Anchor FM app, man, it is killing the game. And if you're watching us on Twitch, if you're watching us on the new revamped Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And, you know, Tony DeBurn, being the guy that he is, the man, the myth, the legend, the greatest producer that ever lived in podcast history, has secured us yet 3 solid nights a week on CenturyLink Xfinity. Tell them where they go. Tell them where to go, Tony.
Well, if you have Xfinity or Prism TV in the Portland area, this is also including the Vancouver, Washington area, every Monday night, 10 p.m., channel 11 on both the formats. And if you miss that, every Tuesday night, 10 p.m., channel 22 Xfinity, channel 8002 on Prism, CenturyLink. And every Wednesday night at 9 p.m., 23 on Xfinity, channel 8003 on CenturyLink Prism.
Man, see, we are everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to support the channel, we would greatly appreciate it. You can go to support the channel support at https://anchor.fm, the Roundtable Podcast support. Like, click, and subscribe to that link, ladies and gentlemen. Help keep this podcast streaming along with all the information from professional wrestling, BCW Worldwide, as well as the top organizations around the world.
And the great thing is, on this show, our bombs go off.
You know, look, man, that was a very, very, very bad situation. It gets even worse. I mean, I love AEW. Okay, I'm just gonna say it right now. I know a lot of people that work there. I know the owners. I know a lot of people involved in the product. I love AEW. Now, AEW can have
absolutely.
They can have a mistake. They can have a mistake. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the way they covered it up was like, yeah, well, Kenny Omega and Impact Wrestling bought the bombs, so totally just shit all over Impact Wrestling with that. But it's crazy, man. The storyline is just outrageous. You know, yeah, yeah, that's right. You know, who doesn't love sparklers, man? True statement. Who doesn't love sparklers? You know, it kind of sucked that it happened that way, but you know, like I said, shit happens.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind, though, you've seen the IWA Japan King of the Death match, right? You've seen that tape.
Yes.
Definitely one of the starter tapes for every Japanese wrestling fan. But if you remember when they did their big final match with the big time bomb going off, almost the exact same thing happened with it was Cactus versus Terry Funk.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys find that match, because if you want to see how Terry Funk reacted, oh my God. He literally he got back up and he was just like, what was that? What the hell was that?
And you know, the reason, ladies and gentlemen, why we had we had Leatherface on a few weeks ago was to kind of get a firsthand experience from a guy who's doing this type of stuff week after week in Japan, and for it to happen, I mean, I know Moxley was like, I fucking can't believe this. I and Eddie Kingston, let me tell you, I love Eddie Kingston. Okay. He's a good dude. He lives, breathes, eats, sleeps, shits, and pisses this business. Okay. He dove on top of him and he covered him up. And when the sparklers went off, you could see him look up and put his head back down like, this is some shit. But people talk so bad about it. And then WWE comes on Monday and their show is a complete shit show as well. And they try to do the exploding shit and same thing. So look, it happens. Okay. Wrestling is not a perfect sport. It happens. I just think that people should get off the shit on AEW bandwagon. These are people that are programmed to only think that WWE is the only thing in the world. They shit on New Japan. Ibushi just unified the IWGP Intercontinental and IWGP Heavyweight Championship into the IWGP World Title.
Yep.
People are hating on that. Impact Wrestling is going to unify the TNA and the Impact Wrestling Championship into one title. And then at Rebellion, you're going to have Kenny Omega, the belt collector, challenging the winner of that for the title.
Sounds like everybody else can hear us.
Oh, that's weird. Sorry, Tisha. Tisha Backlund, ladies and gentlemen, she is a amazing actress. She's an amazing influencer. You can find her on several channels, and she's going to be working with us doing some entertainment stuff later on this, in a couple months. We're going to get together with her, and like I said, the podcast is doing so much. We're everywhere, not just professional wrestling, but
it's just straight up evolving. I mean, this started out as just a BCW worldwide show, and then after time, there we go. And after time, we started expanding to other pro wrestling, and now we're bringing in legends of the professional wrestling sport, and it now all these different podcast platforms and everything on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, and going beyond that even, you never know where we're going to end up next.
Oh man, I'm telling you, we have evolved so much. Remember when we first started this whole thing, we were actually sitting inside of a television studio at a legit round table. And for those who follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, you can actually go. I posted a video of my podcasting area, and it is legit, ladies and gentlemen, a round table. So, I mean, yeah, like Tisha, she said she's excited, man. We're excited to have you aboard. She will probably be our entertainment specialist, someone that will talk to you about various types of entertainment, social media. She's a social media guru, man. She's done it all. She's been in a lot of movies. As a matter of fact, one of my kids' favorite movies.
I like it.
Yeah, one of my kids' favorite movies. I think it was Escape to Halloween Town. Or she's actually in that movie, and so her daughter's a fantastic singer. You know how we get down here to podcasts. We bring on all types of entertainment. I mean, we had Real Faithy J. She wrestles for WoW, and she's also a very accomplished martial artist. She's a coach at the Mayweather Boxing Academy in California, and she's also one hell of a singer. We debuted her video on here, one of our highly, highly watched videos, so to speak. So, I mean, we're excited to do everything. Tim Simmons, what's up, my man? How are you doing?
Hello, Tim.
Tim's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. So, anyway, so let's talk about this week in professional wrestling. Let's talk about the sick, crazy, weird Let's talk about some breaking news that happened today. Joey Ryan withdrew several of his court cases.
Oh boy.
Things can't get any worse for him, I guess.
It's funny. We remove him from the intro finally, and all of a sudden now, I guess I'm gonna have to withdraw all my lawsuits. Oh shit.
Well, I'm kind of glad he did it too. I'm kind of glad he did it.
I'm glad I did it. I'm very glad I did it.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. But yeah, so we're talking about some of the stuff that happened in professional wrestling. The whole craziness of the exploding ring thing just totally dominated all of wrestling this last week. And now AEW is having more issues tonight on Dynamite.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like an impact. I don't know if there's like a NBA game right now going on or something, but apparently
there is, as a matter of fact,
right next door to Daly's place in Florida. So, I don't know. It's like I said, things are happening. It's crazy. Tony, I don't know what else to talk about here. It's just crazy,
Yeah. I'm actually taking a look at ESPN right now.
That's a good question, Ryan. Stan, I don't know what got him to drop the suits. I can always give him a call and ask.
Discussed, was it?
Huh?
I don't think it was discussed, was it?
No. He just dropped the suit. It's crazy. So, there was a story about a wrestler named Buddy Colt who survived a plane crash in 1975.
Yep.
Older wrestler. He died today, so rest in peace there. Molly Holly, she's going to finally be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Totally deserves it.
Yes.
It's just so much stuff, man. So much stuff's going on. Gail Kim, she's making news. Impact Wrestling is going to have a main event next week, a women's match. Dr. Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa in a lights out match. They've really upped their game when it comes to the women's division with the Joshis and just all the cool stuff.
And it's a good thing that they have, because you look at what WWE did with their women's wrestlers, and the progress that they made, and then it just seems in just as fast a time that they've been able to progress women's wrestling, they've almost backslid in equal amount of time. So somebody's got to pick up the slack.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but I've had this like 4 horsemen dream. Okay. Last week, Tully Blanchard, man, wrestled in an AEW match with FTR. Now, for months and months and months, they've been teasing this 4 horsemen style faction.
Mm-hmm.
And I pitched this. I literally pitched this. I was talking to Simon Miller from Ups and Downs. And I pitched it to him. I said, man, what if MJF, because, he had this theory that MJF was going to destroy the Inner Circle. I said, what if MJF teams up with FTR and Tully Blanchard? And he said, well, that might be a good idea, but they're talking this 4 horsemen gimmick, and there's only 3 of them. And I said, but you guys got to remember that Sean Spears is part of Tully Blanchard's little gimmick. So you got FTR, that's 2 dudes. You got Sean Spears, and then you got MJF and Wardlow.
Yep.
Can you imagine that faction? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to imagine it anymore, because it happened tonight on Dynamite. The new faction. They challenged the Inner Circle, and now it's like 4-on-4. It's going to be pretty freaking sick, man.
And it wasn't just that, but I mean, we saw Jericho get color that night tonight. So
Oh yeah, they beat the crap out of Jericho, threw him off the stage and everything. Multiple tables, he went to the floor. So you think about it, MJF just became like the new Ric Flair, and has a stable, and Wardlow powerbombed Jericho through tables. So does that make the Inner Circle faces?
I think it does.
I
mean, by default, it kind of does.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at MJF, who has literally the most hateable, punchable face in professional wrestling.
Oh my God, he sure does. Next to Gregory Huddle. Next to Gregory Huddle. he does have a punchable face.
So you look at MJF, who's going to be leading one group. You have Chris Jericho, who basically has all this goodwill built up from all these years of being one of the greatest of all time. So you kind of have to see that Jericho has to be the baby face in that situation. But the only concern there, MJF, basically anybody aligned with MJF is automatically going to be heel.
Yeah.
You have to look at who's surrounding Jericho. Now they'll cheer Jericho, obviously, but the people he's aligned with, they're gonna have to put some work in to make that happen. Sammy Guevara, Santana and Ortiz, I could see them getting some cheers.
Well,
Jake Hager,
I don't know, man. He was getting that "We as a People," chant. He was getting that "We as a People" chant.
Yeah, so. But we're how many years removed from that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, yeah, obviously it may be just one of those things where they just end up cheering the Inner Circle by default just because of how much they hate MJF.
Well, Tim Simmons, I'm sorry to inform you, but that was a spoiler. Sorry, Tim. That was a spoiler. My bad.
We should probably start warning people in advance.
Yeah. It's not a prediction, everyone. It's a spoiler. It's not a prediction, my friend. It's a spoiler. My bad. That's right. Hey, let me tell you something. New Attitude Media. This is what we're talking about. New Attitude Media is a group of a conglomerate that the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast is looking at teaming up with to bring you even more podcast information, ladies and gentlemen. Like we're talking, look, you know what? Let's talk about spoilers. Ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching NXT, history was made, not once but twice tonight. Okay, so William Regal came out and decided he was going to make 2 announcements. Now, one announcement was really great, but the second announcement I think is kind of stupid. But that's just me thinking that the WWE product is crap. And I'm gonna tell you why. At the beginning of the show, they talk about how at WrestleMania week, for the first time ever, because WrestleMania is 2 nights.
Yes.
So NXT for the first time ever is going to be not 1 but 2 nights. NXT Takeover is going to be 2 nights. Now,
okay. Fair enough.
That's great. After WrestleMania, they're moving to Tuesday nights, so we'll have a Tuesday night war between the WWE's NXT and NXT and Impact Wrestling. So okay, whatever. But tonight, the ladies who won the Dusty Cup, Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai, and I gotta tell you right now, I'm the biggest Raquel Gonzalez fan. That girl has all the goods. She's got the size. She's got the ability. She's even got a good look on her. She needs to be called up to the main roster right away. But then again, you call her up to the main roster, and she's going to get the Rhea Ripley gimmick. Coming soon.
Die.
Exactly. But tonight, so William Regal comes out. Everyone's expecting to be like War Games. Like he was doing a couple weeks ago. But he comes out and. Instead, the Dusty Cup winners, he crowns them the first ever NXT Women's Tag Team Champions.
Sure.
Now, here's my problem.
Mm.
You make these NXT Tag Team titles for the women. You have the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, and you don't do shit with them.
Yeah.
Like, they can't figure a storyline out that they should have just dropped the women's tag team belts in NXT last week so they can have those belts. Those tag team belts of the women's tag team titles were supposed to be the floating title. They go to all three brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT.
That would make sense.
Those belts haven't meant shit since Sasha Banks and Bayley had them. The golden role models. When they had those belts meant something. Now they don't. So Triple H, in his vast glory, decides to create the NXT Women's Tag Team titles and give them to the winners of the Dusty Cup. So Raquel, Gonzalez, and Dakota Kai become champions. Great. They should have won the tag team titles last week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you would have killed two birds with one stone there. I mean, you basically would have established them as, a premier team with not just one victory, but two major victories back to back. And then you've got the possibility of creating new stars.
And that's the thing. I have a friend that's in a WWE producers group. Mm-hmm. This guy bashes AEW so much. He's like, well, they don't ever create new stars. They brought in Christian Cage. They brought in a 60-year-old Sting. They brought in, a Big Show. But when WWE was bringing Christian back for the Rumble, you were popping. You were like, oh my God, Christian's back. Oh my God, Christian's back. When the Big Show challenged Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania last year on the dark match, you were like, oh my God, Big Show's getting a title shot. But because he's in AEW, it's like WCW all over again. It's like TNA. They're bringing all the old people in. Don't, if you're going to bash someone, like, be an equal opportunity basher. Like, bash all of it. Don't shit on a new product because you don't like it. I love AEW because it's new and it's fresh. I have friends that work there. I have friends that work at NXT. I have friends that work all over this industry. So I don't bash on the industry itself. But when I think something is stupid, I'm going to call it out.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
You bring these NXT tag team titles after you job them out last week to Nia Jackson, Shayna Baszler. Then you give them to Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. And then you say they're going to defend the titles later on in the night against Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon.
That's a good point right there.
And then you take that, yeah. Yep. That's what I was getting to. Then they change hands. Like, it's so crazy. You just hot potato those titles right after you got them on the show. So now you got Ember Moon and you got Shotzi Blackheart. They're the new tag team champions, and now they're going to defend those belts at the two night NXT takeover. So here's my thing: why do this title match on TV? No, I get it. I know why they try to do it on TV because they want to try to outdo AEW
ratings.
Here's the thing, though: they didn't have to do that. Like, you just created those titles. You made those titles mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I'm concerned, you just screwed those titles. Yeah. So ridiculous.
That's exactly my way of thinking. I mean, like I said, you had a perfect opportunity to create two new stars and basically make one of your existing titles mean something again. You had you had a perfect opportunity right there, and you didn't take it.
And
illogical.
It's not only is it illogical, I'm just gonna call it what it is. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's bad booking. Horrible booking. I mean, I don't. And like I said, the thing that really bothers me about the whole situation is that you got guys that will totally bash AEW for doing something new.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like it's, how many times can you see Randy Orton in the main event at WrestleMania? How many times can you see Triple H come out of it? Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm in the producer group. So I'm gonna throw some salt in the game real quick.
Okay.
The Mania match is gonna be AJ Styles versus Triple H. So once again,
Great.
you got a WWE office guy. Oh, and then the whole Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman.
They're bringing him back too. Oh well,
Why?
it's not like
Why?
it's not like you don't have about 15 other guys on the roster that you could have used there.
No, those are the guys that they want to sit in catering. Those are the catering guys. That's the catering crew. They we want to build new stars. We're building new stars. Let's bring Shane McMahon back to do and the gimmick that he's doing is the same thing he did with Big Show 10 years ago.
Oh God.
It's just Shane versus Big Show all over again. So, like I said, AJ versus Triple H could be good. AJ Styles can carry anybody. That dude can carry anybody. You're right. Shane versus Braun is going to completely suck. I don't get it. I don't understand why. But then again, oh man, it's crap. It's crap.
Get it. I really don't. This is why I tend to stick to just indies and New Japan. Although, like I said, with AEW, actually starting to kind of figure things out, I'm going to watch more AEW.
Except for that exploding ring match.
Except for that exploding ring match. I will give them a pass on that one, though. I make a joke, but I will give them a pass.
The funny thing is, when we discussed this a couple weeks ago, before we discussed this a couple weeks ago, we actually said when we brought on Leatherface, we said it's going to go one or two ways. One, it's going to be friggin' awesome, or two, it's going to be complete shit.
And so I watched the match, and I will say this: it was a pretty awesome match up until Gallup or LG and Anderson, until the Good Brothers came out. At that point, that's when the match kind of, this kind of losing interest now. They could have saved it still, and they kind of almost did.
Yeah.
And then they did the time bomb gimmick, and it fizzled out.
Speaking of fizzled out, so, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Carrano. A lot of you people don't know that name, but Mark Carrano was the head of talent relations for WWE.
Oh God, I know.
He was the guy that if you want to get a job there, you have to impress him. Well, my sources tell me that he got demoted because people power. John Laurinaitis came back. John Laurinaitis is back as the head of talent relations for the WWE. He's the brother of the late Road Warrior Animal, WCW's Johnny Ace, the Dynamic Dudes. No, John Laurinaitis has been around for a while. He is a legit veteran in his business. He knows his business. He knows what to do. He knows how to make somebody a star. So let's hope that him coming back might, help the product. Let's hope it does, because if it doesn't, crap.
Well, I have my doubts. When he was running talent relations, the weekly show was not terribly great back then either. It was actually kind of one of its more downtimes. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm skeptical.
Well, I'm just gonna say when he gave me a job. I got a chance to do some WWE, stuff in the day because of him. So he gave me a job. I'm not gonna complain.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's wait and see. Just like with everything else they're doing, it's wait and see. Man. Lee's an aide, let's take least in AEW, you get to see Billy Gunn's boys and Byron Pillman's son, Arn Anderson's son in training. Yeah, yeah, and yeah. So you have a lot of second and third generation talent with AEW, and Brian Pillman Jr. He's an awesome wrestler. Uh, Austin Gunn, really good up and coming wrestler. He's probably going to be fantastic here in the next few years. And once Arn's son actually debuts, I have no doubt he's going to be fantastic as well. So you want to talk about introducing new talent? There you go. You might want to unmute yourself there.
Yeah. Speaking of talent, I was let's not talk about that. Speaking of talent, I was wondering how this was going to play out, but at NXT Stand and Deliver, which is the 2-night NXT Takeover, that's going to be during WrestleMania week. A lot of things are happening WrestleMania week, man. I got to talk about some other stuff too, but Jordan Devlin, the NXT UK star who was the Cruiserweight champion, is going to face the current NXT Cruiserweight champion, Santos Escobar.
Yep.
Now, that's going to be a unification match. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, 2 belts on a ladder, which if you think about it, WWE totally did the same thing when they brought in AJ Styles as the Intercontinental Champion, and then what the heck is the El Generico's name?
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. The 2 Intercontinental Champions. Like they recycle so many storylines, it's so ridiculous. But yet they're the better company. They're the ones that, WWE just has a better product. Not even the money. They have a better product. And you're right, new attitude. We haven't seen Jordan Devlin since speaking out. And
yeah, I was going to mention that, or wait for you to mention it.
The speaking out, man, that totally just. Whew, there's a lot of people who should be on that list, like Mercer Sage from Elite Wrestling Initiative and Dakota. He definitely should be on that list. But it is what it is.
Well, then again, people would have to know who he is first. So
yeah, well,
yeah.
Such is life, man. Such is life. But I'm excited to see that match because Jordan Devlin is freaking awesome, and Santos Escobar is really good too. So that's, man, it's gonna be a great match. So there's some good stuff going on there, and then there's some crap stuff, But just like AEW, there's some good stuff there. There's some crap stuff there. I mean, like, I'm so excited for AEW's match with Cody Rhodes and Penta Zero.
Yeah,
that's gonna be fun, dude. Cody says he's the Prince of Wrestling, and then Pentagon said, "Well, if you're the Prince of Wrestling, I'm the Lord of Lucha Libre." So, man, whew,
I love it.
We're seeing Penta's brother come out that that losing effort against Lance Archer, one of the most amazing matches ever. So,
so that's definitely going to be a pretty damn good match. We know Cody, he can work that Lucha Libre style and L0M.
He was in AAA for a while too, he was.
Yep. So Penta, we've seen what he can do pretty much, working Lucha and non-Lucha. So that I think that's going to be a pretty good matchup. So that's going to be for that St. Patrick's Day show.
Exactly. What do you think about, and this is going to throw people off a little bit because people were complaining about Sting. He's old. He shouldn't be wrestling. Triple H, Seth Rollins hurt him pretty bad, and then Triple H buried him. What do you think about Sting and Lance Archer? Because that's a new feud that's happening. Sting and Lance Archer, man. Like, what?
Lance Archer is I mean, as far as big men go, he's definitely, top of the line, big man. So, and Sting's best matches, I I would say were always against bigger wrestlers. I mean, you talk about his matches with Flair. I never really got into his matches with Ric Flair, but his
What?
matches against guys like Vader,
Oh, okay. Sting and
matches
Cactus
against
Jack.
Vader, Cactus Jack, arguably you could say, I mean, dude was 300 pounds at that time. So
Even Sting and Barry Windham was pretty good too. You know,
it was.
the whole bogus Sting Halloween Havoc gimmick where Barry came down dressed as Sting.
So Sting's best matches were always the situation where he was definitely,
the
underdog coming from underneath. So I like this matchup. I really do. I think this could actually, we could see something very reminiscent of his matches against guys like Vader, and Sting's matches against Sid were even pretty good. So, no, I
shout out to my boy Sid.
There.
So okay, we talked about that. Let's talk about some. Yeah, Cheryl said Sting versus Flair marathon matches were good.
They were. I mean, there was basically them going, 30, 45, 60 minutes, every night to
wrestling.
Yep. And no two of their matches were ever really the same. I will say that, but I just don't think they meshed very well. There's something about their matches, just they didn't really seem to gel in the same ways that, Flair's matches against guys like Steamboat and Sting's matches against guys like Vader or Rick Rude, the way they gelled.
Flair Steamboat, I'm telling you, man, the best wrestling ever.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that was the fact that guys like Steamboat, they were that rare they were that rare wrestler that could actually work from underneath with a guy like Ric Flair. Those are the best situations when you have, when Ric Flair is, when you're working with Ric Flair. So a guy like Steamboat, who was the consummate babyface, that's the right situation, to work a match with a Ric Flair type. So
true statement.
Macho Man Randy Savage, exactly. Macho Man, especially, you go back and you watch that WrestleMania 8 match where Savage was basically unable to stand for about 90% of that match, just selling his knee the entire time and just fighting back the entire time. Yeah, that's how you make a guy like Ric Flair seem, like he's just more than this cocky, rat fucking piece of shit.
Well,
that's how you get around that.
And, the heel is supposed to be the chicken shit guy. So I mean,
exactly. And
that's
so
funny.
those guys like Savage and Steamboat that were able to maximize that element.
That's what makes wrestling great, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about something that kind of threw me off a little bit because I'm friends with her, the Bunny. Okay, I've known her for a long time. She was part of a group. Her and her husband, they were part of a group with my boy Black G. It's called TV Ready back in CZW. Great guys. But Matt Hardy has so many fucking gimmicks, man. He changes his gimmick like people change their underwear.
Right.
Now he's doing the big money Matt gimmick, the Matt Hardy Empire. So tonight, after he lost that match with Hangman Page for his first quarter earnings,
yeah.
So on the new AEW Dark show, AEW Dark Elevation, which is going to be hosted by Tony Schiavone and Paul White, the Big Show,
nice.
They announced they're going to have a 5-on-5 match. Now, we're talking about Matt Hardy.
Yep.
Private Party.
Yep.
And the newest members of the Hardy Empire, the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. So to me, that says that the whole gimmick with them and Eddie Kingston is dead. And now Eddie Kingston's full on face.
Oh yeah. I mean, we'll get to what really solidified that here in just a second. But so you got Matt Hardy, you got Butcher and Blade, and you got Private Party. They're going to be facing all three members of the Jurassic Express and their country.
Marco Stunt.
I enjoyed seeing Marco Stunt get the shit kicked out of him by Tully Blanchard. That was
dude, that was great. Like that made me smile because, ladies and gentlemen, I've been a professional wrestler for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked hard to get to where I am. Marco Stunt, in my opinion, that dude should never, ever, ever, ever have gotten a contract. He's horrible.
And he
I will tell him that to his face.
Signed too.
Yeah, he's horrible. Like
I know.
You know, like I said, I'm not a bash. I love AEW. But decisions to bring in people like that totally just throw me to the, like, what the hell were they thinking?
Yeah, that was one of their gaps early on.
Yeah, I mean, building new stars, ladies and gentlemen, building new stars. And speaking of building new stars, let's go to a quick commercial break so we can build some of those ad block money. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
Drive me insane! All these rules are lame, I've been taking all the fun out! Drive me insane! All these rules are lame, I've been taking all the fun out! Drive me insane! All these rules...
When you want to get your hair cut, you go get your hair cut right. You head down to Big D's Barbershop. Big D's Barbershop, Vancouver, Washington's best and brightest. 1019 Main Street, Vancouver, Washington, where you can go get your hair lined up, cuts, fades, shampoos, conditions, and all the great things that go with supporting a local barbershop in a local business area. You can also reach them online at www.bigdsbarbershop.com. Go get your hair cut right.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
And once again, we are back. And you know, this is going to be funny. JB Moonshine, the drunk hillbilly, had this to say. Luke Perry's kid, his monster, and their 12-year-old boy. That right here.
Yep.
That says it all, man. That says it all. But let's fast forward, ladies and gentlemen. Let's fast forward to WrestleMania week. Now, for those who don't know, those who have never been to WrestleMania week, it's chock full of sports entertainment, ladies and gentlemen. Like, there are so many wrestling matches. I wrestled 15 times in 3 days. At WrestleMania in Orlando. Plus, there's like parties, the Wale Mania party, which is off the hook, special invite only. That stuff is crazy. Like, it's an awesome event to be involved with. And Generation Championship Wrestling, GCW, is going to be doing a show that week. Actually, they're going to be doing a couple shows. And they really dropped a bomb on some people, man. Like, Lionel Green, known to the wrestling world as Leo Rush, is going to debut at GCW's WrestleMania, GCW Mania Week. Okay. Now, it's going to be crazy because their show is called We Run This Town. It's going to be at the Egypt Shrine Center. Man, it's going to be outrageous to have that kid. He's, working with New Japan World, and he's working with MLW. Leo Rush is a beast. It comes with the Man of the Hour, formerly with WWE, formerly a Cruiserweight champion at NXT. So go check out GCW, man. GCW Mania Week 2021 at eventbrite.com. United We Fight. Man, they're going to be streaming on the Title Match Wrestling Network. You can go check them out. We're going to be doing some exclusive interviews with those guys and the talent on that show. Also, something that's near and dear to my heart. An organization that I am a part of, and I'm proud to be a part of this organization. This organization is built on professional wrestling professionalism. Guys like Sir Mo from the WWE, several other companies, Soarmania, SWE. They're called the OIWA. Okay, OIWA is an affiliate group. Man, this I can't say too much about this group. I mean, so much about this group. It's amazing. The group is called the Organized International Wrestling Association. Now, see, the key word here is organized.
Organized, yep.
I've worked for companies. As a matter of fact, I recently retired and relinquished the AIWF American Heavyweight Championship because the company wasn't organized.
Yeah.
You have the OIWA's international champion, Dante Smiley. AEW Dark Star. He travels around the country. He's putting in the work.
Friend of the show.
So myself and my tag team partner, Just Exciting, we were just at the Remembering Black Legends of Memphis Wrestling event last week.
Mm-hmm.
Totally amazing event, Memphis, Tennessee. The guys were awesome. Okay. Everything was great. Organization is what this professional wrestling organization is all about.
Mm-hmm.
They don't boast that they have 200 promotions around the world.
Yeah.
But they can't get their world champion to fly anywhere other than North Carolina.
Yeah.
This organization is going to take off, and they are going to be what the NWA was back in the 70s and 80s. This is a group you need to watch out for, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you, it's where the indies come to conquer the world, the OIWA. We're going to have a logo placed in our commercials, or we're going to represent the OIWA. I'm totally down with it. They do shows like every week, man, and they're also on the Roku channel. They have a Roku channel.
Yep.
Man, you got guys like Dante Smiley, you got Ricky Morton, just so many talented individuals on that show. And I can't wait to be back with the OIWA. So anyway, I digress. I went off key for a second because I was so busy hyping up this amazing organization. Chaotic Kingdom Wrestling is also part of the group. BCW Worldwide is part of this group.
Yes.
Yes. Talk about international exposure, ladies and gentlemen. Everything you can want in an organization, these guys provide. So, yeah, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted, ladies and gentlemen. Tony, what is it like? What would you, let's talk about our interview tonight.
Yes.
Let's hype the interview with this lady, man. She's
well, we finally got her on the show. She was supposed to be on a few weeks ago. And unfortunately, with just some technical issues that we couldn't get her on then. But we were able to make those arrangements. We were able to get that booking done. So we got her on the show tonight. And I am definitely looking forward to hearing from the Badstreet Beauty, Miranda Gordy.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who she is, you need to Google that. She's the longest reigning SWE Fury Women's Champion. And the SWE Fury is ran by several people, but one of the people that is very influential in this promotion is a legend in his own time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the legendary James Beard, who will be here next week live on the Roundtable Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, James Beard.
Hi, this is James Beard with SWE Fury, and you're watching the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast.
That man has refereed countless superstars. He refereed NWA World Heavyweight Championship matches between Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair and Terry Funk, the franchise PR Bad Bud right here,
Yeah,
and the Perfect Storm, Tim Storm.
Your match with Tim Storm.
That's right, man. That's right. That guy has been around. He's done a lot. Shout out to James Beard. Can't wait to have him on the show next week, man. It's an honor and a privilege.
Yeah.
So like there's so much to talk about. Miranda Gordy, man. I'm excited. Man. So there's another wrestler that I want to bring up that we're gonna have on the show.
Yes.
He's a Canadian professional wrestler. He's done a lot of great things. I mean, he's trained by Scott D'Amore, Joey Legend, Terry Taylor. He's been on Impact Wrestling. He does a lot of YouTube how-to shows, like trainings, and he's a very influential gentleman. His name is Tyson Ducks.
Yes.
And Tyson,
I love his YouTube channel.
my man Tyson's going to be on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We've been texting back and forth over the last couple of days, and yeah, Tyson's just like, hey man, I really want to get on the show. Let's talk business, man. Let's do it. So I'm gonna get Tyson on the show, possibly next week.
Okay, all right.
Possibly next week. But he runs a lot. He does a lot of wrestling in the Canadian independents. We've been in the business about the same time. Like I came in like 1994. He came in 1997. I mean, the dude's been around, man. The dude's been around. And he does a show called the Lockdown Sessions.
Yeah. So if you're a wrestler, you owe it to yourself to go and check out his YouTube channel. Watch all his instructionals, and especially his 61 days, 61 hold 61 days series. The 12 days of Thesmus that he did for the holidays this past year. And now he's basically going through 20-minute instructional matches against his students and just demonstrating, basic and complex concepts. You will learn something just from watching just one of his videos. I guarantee it. I picked up at least 20 new holds just by watching his channel.
He's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Like the dude has been on TNA Explosion. He's wrestled TNA Impact. He was part of the original Cruiserweight Classic the WWE did, the TJP one. Like the dude's been around, man. He's done some crazy stuff, man. He wrestles with Smash Pro Wrestling. He did the whole big thing where they feuded against Progress last year.
Yep.
Progress Wrestling is another one of those crazy, companies. He's wrestled for Velocity in WWE. He's wrestled Sunday Night Heat. He's been in this thing called he was in this movie Zombie Beach Party too. Like he's done so much stuff, man. He's also part of Team International in the World X Cup for TNA. So I mean, the guy's done so much, man, and he's gonna be on the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. As a matter of fact, I just sent him a text telling him we put him over on the podcast tonight. So he's gonna be excited about that.
I will put over Tyson Dukes any day of the week.
Also, so we also talk about this show being a pro wrestling podcast, but also we have a correspondent, and that correspondent, his name is Adam Woods. Adam Woods does a show called According to Woods. That's part of the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast group now. So he interviews Bellator, UFC fighters, mixed martial artists, and all this great stuff. So, I'm excited to have him aboard. Yeah. But this coming week, Lady Tapia. She is a professional wrestler, but she's also a boxer. She's going to be on the podcast. She's excited. You know, she's excited. We're going to get her on the podcast possibly next week. So, ladies and gentlemen, just be ready because we got a lot of stuff coming up in the next couple of days. And if you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to it, you're probably listening to it on the Roundtable Podcast, on iHeartRadio, Podchaser, YouTube, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. We're talking like Pandora, Google, Apple, Spotify, Jesus Christ, Simplecast.
If there is a podcast platform, there's a pretty good chance we're on it.
That's right. So like, click, and subscribe. We want you to join. We want you to be up to date on all of this great stuff. And you know, Tony, you've done such a great job with the TV stuff, man. And this marks literally today, March 10th, marks 1 calendar year that we've been doing this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. 1 calendar year.
Yes.
And with that being said, thank you for joining us every week. Man, the future is bright, and we plan on jumping out and doing some other crazy stuff.
Time flies. Time flies.
Time
when you're in
flies.
quarantine.
Speaking of time flying, shout out to my boy Ricardo Rodriguez, who is over in Cairo, Egypt right now.
Oh man.
He just sent me a text message. She said, "Sorry, I thought I replied. Sorry, Poppy." He says, "It's 5 a.m. I just woke up, my dude." Shout out to my boy, though. So let's go ahead and let's get to this cool interview with this amazing independent wrestler, legend, friend of the channel, Freebird. Ladies and gentlemen, the Badstreet Beauty, Miranda effing Gordy. Hey, welcome to the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's always good to have people on here that, you know, share the common interests. So speaking of common interests, how are you? How have you been? Like this whole pandemic thing, how have you gotten through this last shithole of a year?
Well, I stay busy. Actually, I'm probably one of the few people that, you know, like I know I'm a healthy person, and like I understand where other people are coming from and they want to be safe, but I, in my heart, thought I only have this one life. I want to live it, and I kept working. Even when we were on total lockdown, my boyfriend and I started our own little studio show called Viral Pro, and we had like 7 people, and we had a full show. Like we filmed a full show with literally 7 people in the building because that was the limit of people or whatever. And and then as soon as we got the opportunity to be booked somewhere else, we took it every time. And so I've stayed busier than most.
Man,
and that's how I got through it.
That's an incredible thing to go through right now. I mean, a lot of shit is shut down here in Portland. BCW Worldwide has been shut down for almost a year. As a matter of fact, today is the 9th of March, and about 2 days will be the 1-year anniversary of us shutting the doors. I mean, we're not shut for good. We're actually going to be opening back up within the next like month or two, which is really fucking exciting. So, you know, I totally understand, but just like yourself, I've actually been traveling to, you know, Tennessee and Georgia, and, you know, I'm not going to Florida, that's for goddamn sure. But, you know, I've been keeping busy too. This podcast is a year old, and you are actually the one interview how can I say this? You are the year-end interview. You're the anniversary interview. You're the one. So
nice. That's awesome. Thank you.
So, I mean, you know, God, there's so much to talk about. Like, give us your background, where you come from, how you got started, who trained you, just like who you are as a person.
as a person, like all the way back, like born in Tennessee, raised in Georgia. I spent the last 10 years in Texas. Actually, thanks to the pandemic, this past year I've actually been in Missouri. So, my dad was a wrestler. My mom was a cosmetologist. She also did a lot of other cool stuff.
I like how you say, well, my dad, he was a wrestler, and my mom was a cosmetologist. Like, your dad is one of the most famous fucking wrestlers in the existence of professional wrestling. Like, don't sell it short. You're a daughter of a legend. Come on.
Oh, sure. One thing that
sure.
Well, so one thing that people always ask are like, what was it like growing up? And I'm like, I obviously, like, that was just my dad to me. It's like, oh, this is just something that happens in my life. Wrestling just happens. And except for when I found out I could use it, like, I could be the cool kid in school.
Oh my
and
God.
Like, my dad's a wrestler, like, that type of stuff. And then, I was the cool kid. And so I could use that to my advantage. But otherwise, he was just my dad. And I'm like, Dad, I want to go do something today. Just like,
it's gonna be so weird. Like, I'm watching you, and ladies and gentlemen that are watching this podcast, and the ones that are listening on Anchor, on Google, on Spotify, on Pandora, on iHeartRadio, on all those cool, like, in Apple, iTunes, all those cool podcast stations that we're on. For those that are listening to this, you don't see how animated she is. It's so funny because my daughter is 12 years old, and I'm that dad. Like, I'm like your dad. I always make time for my daughter, and my kids, like, they come first. And my son used to use the fact that I'm a wrestler to get chicks. Like, he'd be like, hey, so my dad's this real cool wrestler. He's on TV all the time. You want to see a picture of him? Right? My daughter is totally the opposite. So during Christmas time, like 2 years ago, I go to one of these little Christmas bazaars I have at her school, and this little boy, like, she leaves me, she's running off with her girlfriends, and I'm by myself making a snowman out of rice and socks. And this little boy walks up and he looks at me, and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? He just giggles and he runs away. So I'm like, oh, that was weird. So a minute later, he comes back with another little boy, and they both start looking at me, and they're looking at each other and they're giggling. And I'm like, are you guys okay? And they look at me and they fucking run away. And I'm like, okay, this is a little odd. Like, these two little boys just came up to me, and I see them across the room staring at me. And I'm like, what the hell? This is creepy. So they come back, and I say, are you guys okay? And a third little boy goes, I told you that was him. And I'm like, and the look on my face, I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he goes, dude, you're a wrestler. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So, yes, you are. I'm like, no, you're mistaking me from somebody else. He goes, dude, look. And he pulls out his phone, and he's like, see, this is you right here. And I'm all, oh, yeah, that is me. But look, be quiet. They go, can we get an autograph? And I'm like, sure, man. So the kid gets a Sharpie, and they pull out a piece of paper, and before I get ready to sign it, I hear my daughter screaming from across the room, get away from my dad. Running over. And I'm like, and they run away. Like, they totally just dip. I'm like, why'd you do that? She's like, because that's kind of stupid. Like, these guys are like following you around the room all night and acting all weird, like you're somebody famous. And I'm like, well, I kind of am. And she's like, you're just my dad to me, old man. Like, wow. Totally just like, I was feeling like up here on cloud 9, and she totally just shot the cloud down. I was like, huh, come back down to earth, old man.
Kids will do that. They'll humble you real quick.
Oh, yes. Like, it was pretty humbling. And did you ever do like things like that to your dad? Or was he just like, oh, it's just my dad, Terry?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, experiences, he would just be like my dad, like, hey, Dad, I want a pizza. And then we get to the pizza place, and they're like, oh, you're Terry Gordy. Have a free pizza. Right? So I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. My dad's Terry Gordy, and we'll take that free pizza. So, that type of thing. So,
see, hey, sometimes that celebrity does come in handy.
Exactly.
I just got 4 brand new tires on my car for the price of one. So I'm like, dude was a fan. I took the jacket off that I was wearing, signed it, and gave it to him.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
Right.
cool. But you were blazing your own trail. Like I remember when I first met you was at NWA Texoma, and it was the night that the Freebirds wrestled the Sons of Texas.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, I got that. And your mom was there, and was it your sister?
Yeah, my sister was there.
It was like a legit like Badstreet reunion. I was like, everyone's wearing these jackets, and I'm like, dude, I want one. And I remember Buddy Jr. came over and goes, man, look, we like you. Him and Tristan were like, we like you a lot. We're gonna make you the Black Freebird. I said, look, man, I'm not Iceman King Parsons, bro. It ain't gonna work. But I kept in touch with those guys over the years, and I try to keep in touch with you. And you're super busy. Like I see you doing so much stuff. So, I mean, Texoma Pro Women's Champion, or what do they call the Rose Championship?
Rose, yeah, the Texoma Rose. And Robert just got a new belt made for the women's, and he did real nice, like a red strap and yellow roses all over it, nice. And some blue and white details. And so it's for the Freebird Von Erich. So I've kind of had a belt made for me.
See, there's a celebrity again.
Right? So I have had that. But it's the Texoma Rose champion. Former now. I only have one belt now. I was up to like 5 at one point. But
look at that, the female Ultimo Dragon over here got more gold in the pawn shop.
Right. Former SWE. I'm the current USA, and I just got that back from Dylan McQueen. So I'm the USA Championship Wrestling out in Jackson, Tennessee. That's the only championship I have right now. So
you were like the SWE Women's Champ for like 115 days or something like that, right?
It was for a minute, for since August to December. So for a while I took it from Jazz, which is a big deal. So she scared me there for a minute. I took the belt off Jazz, and then the next thing I know, she's retiring, and I'm like, oh no, don't tell me that was her last match. She didn't say anything about it. And I don't want her going out like that. I'm glad she's still doing stuff because she's the best. And so now she's doing this Impact stuff, and I think she's getting back to it. I'm like, thank goodness, because she's like the baddest bitch in the game, and she don't need to go out like that.
Real talk. I talk to her quite frequently, and the fact that she's up in age and still beating half these young chicks half to death. That's
exactly.
And then Rodney's the same thing. Like that's a tough family to be involved with. I mean, you ain't
Rodney's a beast too. There's
exactly
just a beast. Yeah,
you're gonna find them better than those two. And they're at SWE right now. SWE Fury, right?
Yes. Rodney is the
television champion, I think.
Television champion. Jazz, though she's not actually wrestling, she is in charge of the women's division. So anything that we do goes through her, and so I work with her all the time. I'm going down this Friday to San Antonio to train with her. So I love working with Jazz. She's just like the sweetest lady, but I'm also like, you could totally kick my ass at any point, Jazz.
Right?
So I'm gonna keep you nice to you.
What is it like?
But I love her.
What is it like when you meet someone like Jazz? I'm pretty sure like you've met her when you were younger. Like, you came to wrestling shows when you were younger. What is it like meeting someone when you were younger and then wrestling them as an adult?
It's just like, it's the coolest feeling. It's like your dreams coming true type of thing, you finally made it to Disneyland. You've been waiting your whole life. To see people and it's not just her, I'm getting to work with all these people that I watched growing up, obviously in the Attitude Era and stuff, but people that worked with my dad. Like, I saw Ricky Morton and hung out with him this past Sunday, and like, just that in itself, them telling me stories about my dad has been like the most healing thing. And that's kind of like, that's a big factor in me just going and like getting to meet all these people, like collecting the stories, and then obviously working with people like Jazz and Melina's now at SWE. And it's like all these, like, you want to like be a fan, but they're your coworkers. So like, you just want to look at them and be like, I'm in the same room as you now, as like,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so,
like I used
so
to watch
surreal.
on TV.
It's like you look at something. Okay, look, ladies and gentlemen, I know I talk about stuff like this all the time, and I always say how like I'm just like everyone else. I'm not a mark or a fan like that when it comes to meeting people, because I mean, quite honestly, they do the same type of job we do. They put their boots on one boot at a time. But I'm going to tell you, the other day, I got to interview Nikita Koloff. Nikita Koloff and Magnum TA with their feud over the United States title. And then with Dusty Rhodes, Nikita won the Crockett Cup. I became a wrestling fan. Like, you see the championships behind me, they inspired me to become an NWA wrestler, and they inspired me to hold NWA championships and, to be the best that I could. So when Nikita Koloff messaged me saying, hey man, I would love to be on the podcast, I literally, ladies and gentlemen, almost shit myself. I'm not gonna lie.
You had like your internal little girl scream, like, ee!
Exactly. Like, I got off the phone with them and I'm like, oh my God. Like, my mom passed away 8 months ago, and my mom was the hugest Nikita Koloff mark. Like, she loved him, So I got him on the podcast, and we're talking. We're just shooting shit like you and I are. And he was like, oh yeah, brother. And I remember when your mom passed away, I sent you a message and you never replied to it. And I'm like, what? So I'm like as I'm talking to him, I'm scrolling through on the other screen looking for this message. Sure enough, he had sent a comment. And I was like, wow. And I told him what a big fan my mom was of his. So nice. I've met a lot of huge names in my 28 years in wrestling. But that man, like they say when you meet your idols, be careful to meet your idols. Psst, not in this case. That guy was such a great guy.
Oh, that's good.
Crazy, right? Super crazy.
Well, you never know.
Totally
I've been like super lucky. Everyone I've crossed has been just more than pleasant. Like, I have nothing but good stories. And so, I mean, I'm waiting for the one to be like, that sucks. Like, I looked up to that person and they're just
so waiting.
Gross. Yeah.
But you've been blessed because you've come in contact with some really great people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know for a fact that one of the best men, that there are two guys in this industry that I say, like, they are some of the most down-to-earth, amazing men to work with. And I'm talking about James Beard and Tim Storm.
Oh my gosh.
I've had the pleasure to work with Tim Storm and James Beard twice.
Yes.
And I tell you, wow. Wow.
I love both of them so much. Like, James is just the quiet, like, force. And I mean, Tim's like the coolest person ever. And I tell him all the time, like, you're like the coolest person in the world. So, and they're both just so great. And I love being around them because they're funny and they're good to work with. So I love them both.
See, you, like I said, you're lucky you get to work with them on a somewhat, like a lot on a regular basis, I should say.
I think when James does anything, he's like, well, Miranda's coming along. So, and I'm like, yay.
Yep. Like, I'll go.
That makes me feel special that James, thinks of me. But of course, he's known me since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
So what does your mom think of you taking up the Freebird mantle?
She's been to a couple shows. I think she knows that it has its hard times and its rewarding times. And so, she just makes sure I'm okay, because she knows that it can be rough sometimes. But she's proud of me. My family's proud of me. I get to travel and see them more, and wrestling has afforded me that. So that is a good thing. So I'll give it that at least.
Yeah, I always tell people wrestling has sent me places I never would have been before on my own. So, you know, it's an experience, man. It's something that a lot of people don't get a chance to experience in their lifetime. So I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Right. Right.
So-
Oh yeah. I like, why would I ever, whenever I first started, one of the first shows I did was Kansas. Like, why would I ever go to Kansas? I'm glad I have now to say that I've been there, but like, why else would I go to Kansas? You know what I mean? Like, so just stuff like that. Obviously Japan and, you know, just all the places that I have been because of wrestling. Like I probably would have never done it. And so, you know, I'm going to have some really cool stories and pictures when I get old to like show my grandkids and stuff. So if anything, if I never make it to WrestleMania or whatever, or WWE, at least I have that cool stuff, which is more than most.
Mhm.
So I'm thankful for that.
Like I tell you, like I got this trophy case behind me, and that's the NWA Continental and Pacific Northwest title. And the fact that I held them longer than anybody, you know, well, there's another belt down there too, but that one, you know, we'll talk about that one. But the fact that I held them longer than anybody, that's like really cool. And I like all the magazines I've ever been in, posters.
Yeah.
A fan made some baseball cards, and I have like the baseball cards in there and trophies and all that stuff like that. So when I'm old and gray and my kids are like, hey, you know, remember when grandpa used to beat up people for a living? Look at that cool thing. You know, their kids are like, Grandpa, tell me a story. I can be like, well, I remember back in my day, you know, you're going to be able to do something like that too. And that's
Yeah.
cool. So
Exactly.
you mentioned the boyfriend. Now,
Yes.
are there any children on the way or around or anything like that?
Not between us. He is a wrestler as well. He goes by Niles Plonk.
Mhm.
So he has 2 kids, and they're up here in Missouri. And I have a daughter. She'll be 10 this year, and she's in Texas. She stays with her grandparents when I'm traveling and stuff. So she's in Texas right now.
So what does
So
she think
we
about
all have
mom?
kids. We're not going to have kids together. I would like to have a nice wrestling career, and 3's enough for us.
So what does she think about mom being a badass wrestler?
Well, she thinks I'm a badass. So she thinks it's cool. She likes watching the matches, and she gets real hyped into it. She does not like when I lose, though, obviously. That makes her really sad. Actually, one time where she kind of like almost didn't want to come back was I had my first match with Jazz. It was like my 4th or 5th match. So I was just starting, and I was wrestling Jazz, and Jazz had cheated, pulled something out of her trunks and hit me. And my kiddo was in tears. I got out of the ring and I look over at my kid, and she's just bawling. I'm like, she hated Jazz. Like, I'm like, honey, we'll talk about this at home. You know, like, you know, and so I even told her in August when I knew I was going to face Jazz, I was like, do you want to maybe come watch this match with Jazz? She's like, no, I don't like Jazz. I'm like, okay. Listen, it's going to be better than last time. Nope. So, you know, and then I got the belt and she was happy. And so, you know, everything was fine. But
You're all trying to undersell it to her, like, it's going to be better, I promise.
Yeah.
She's like, nope, not going to happen.
Yeah. I don't want to see Jazz.
Oh my God. That's so funny. Yeah. Like, I, you know, it's funny you talk about it like that, because I remember my mom only came to one wrestling show. In 28 years, she's only come to one. Oh. And the reason why she's only come to one is because during it was like maybe my second year wrestling, and I'm wrestling this guy. I'm like 140 pounds soaking wet with boots on. And this guy's like 360 pounds, a big dude named the Mauler. And he pulls off this railroad spike. And he's going to bust me open with this railroad spike. And I know it's coming because I see it in his hand. And I look at my mom. And I'm from LA. My mom's hood. She literally got up and was about to jump the guardrail. And I looked over and the mauler came swinging that railroad spike, and I saw out of the corner of my eye, and it was like, boom, right? And all I could see is my mom. I'm like taking the bump, falling to the ground. I could see my mom. I'm like, oh shit, here she comes. So, and my mom was like, I'll never come to one of these damn things again. Like, I totally get it, Mom. I totally
you
get
did
it.
a good job. Y'all did a good job then, right?
Oh, we worked the work. It was a funny situation, but at the end of the day, you know, we entertained, and your daughter was really entertained by what you did, which is kind of cool. You know, Mommy's a badass superhero in her eyes, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my mom has come to some of my shows, but I'm sure she's like, I've seen this 1,000 times. You know what I mean?
Born, kid.
So, yeah, she's like, more wrestling. I thought I was done with this.
Right. Well, this is what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back with the Freebird, the female lone Freebird herself, Miranda Gordy. We'll be right back.
Drive me insane! All these rules are lame, have been taking all the fun out! Drive me insane! All these rules are lame, have been taking all the fun out! Drive me insane! All these rules...
When you want to get your hair cut, you go get your hair cut right. You head down to Big D's Barbershop. Big D's Barbershop, Vancouver, Washington's best and brightest. 1019 Main Street, Vancouver, Washington, where you can go get your hair lined up, cuts, fades, shampoos, conditions, and all the great things that go with supporting a local barbershop in a local business area. You can also reach them online at www.bigdsbarbershop.com. Go get your haircut right.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Great futures do start with the Boys and Girls Club, and I am back with Miranda Gordy. What else is there to talk about here? What else is there? What else is going on in your world these days?
Oh man. Besides wrestling, since I'm on the road so much, I just gym. Like, I was at the gym so long today. I was in the car so much yesterday. I'm like, I'm literally going to live at the gym today. And because so I tried real hard. Like, I cooked at my mom's. I did the meal prep. But on the road, like, we were in Tennessee and there's no Crystals out here. And so I'm like, I'm in Tennessee. I have to get Crystal burgers. And so I ate some Crystals. I'm like, I got to be at the gym all day today. So I did that, and that's all I did. It was real nice. So I went and ran, and so I'm looking forward to the warm weather because I like running outside instead of doing the step machine. And then my horse, I just take care of my horse. So.
Yeah, see, like look, you're always doing something. Like, you're never just like. I love the fact that you're always busy. You're always doing something. The idle hands are the devil's playground, so to speak. So you're doing the most. You're keeping it alive. Do you speak to any of the other Freebirds? I'm talking about Buddy Roberts Jr. and Tristan Hayes.
Oh yeah, I actually talked to Tristan more than I talked to Buddy. And I talked to one of the original Freebirds. I talked to Michael all the time. So yeah, I haven't talked to Buddy in a couple months. Last I heard, actually it was last year sometime. He said he kind of wanted to get back into it, like kind of wanted to start training. I told him, come train with us or whatever. Tristan has told me possibly the same thing, that they have thought about maybe getting back into it. I keep encouraging it. I'm like, obviously do it because I'm blowing up the scene. Might as well come like take it over, you know? So yeah, I talk to them regularly. I talk to Michael all the time for tips and stuff. And just, I mean, I call him Uncle Michael. He's like, he took over when my dad passed, and he's been the closest thing to a father figure I've had. And so, and now I'm in his forte, I'm in his sport, and I'm like, what would you do here? Or, you know, whatever. And so he tells me what he thinks would be best. So,
I mean, you got a good teacher. He's a WWE producer, like he's the top WWE producer. Let's just call it what it is, you know. So yeah, you got a little juice to you. Look at you, the godmother over there. Man, see, not only is she a Freebird, but she's a gangster at that. So look, ladies and gentlemen, we play this game, and I love the hell out of this game because this game brings life, like it brings to life the whole industry. The game is real simple. It's real cute. Fans love it. Everyone watching at home, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull it out. But the fans that are listening at home, the game is called Team With, Feud With, or Fire. The rules are simple, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you can team with anyone in the industry, alive or dead. So you can team with your dad. You can team with the Ultimate Warrior. You can team with Hulk Hogan. You can team with Ric Flair. You can team with the dude who brings the bell at the corner in Texoma. You can, you know, whatever. You can feud with anyone in the industry, alive or dead. Fabulous Moolah, Jazz, or you can fire anyone. And I do mean anyone. No excuses needed, no explanation needed, unless you want to give us one. So, team with, feud with, or fire.
Well, I mean, team with. That's the easiest. Obviously, everybody's like, you know, they know who they want to team with. I would team with, I mean, probably my dad or my brother. You know, I think intergender tags are like a thing now. And if I could ever talk him into coming back, I think that would be like the biggest deal. So,
man, that would work. You'd have it right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, now, who would you feud with? That's the thing that I love the most.
Feud with. I would feud with Charlotte Flair. I think that she is like the top second gen, and I think that her and my dad had history, and I think that her and I could totally play on that and make it a big thing. You know, Flair versus Gordy again, like 30 years later. I think that would be good.
Man, okay. Now, who would you fire?
Who would you fire? Oh man, from all of wrestling. That's a good one. I've not thought of that. Who do I not like right now? Who am I feuding with right now? Chrissy James. I fire her. No, she's actually great.
I like Chrissy James.
Trying to get my belt back. Fire her.
Okay, I got you.
So I can't really think of anybody that I would fire. Yeah, I'll just say any of my opponents, fire them before I get to them. How about that?
That's how you get rid of the competition, ladies and gentlemen. You fire their ass. You make sure they ain't around. Okay, well, that makes sense. So before I let you go, I've wanted to ask you this like for a long time. How did it feel to finally have your dad go into the WWE Hall of Fame?
Oh, finally, like we were all relieved. You know, I went to WrestleMania when it was in Atlanta a few years before, and like we were like, why would it happen in Atlanta? You know, and so I was really proud that they did it in Dallas, considering the history of the Sportatorium. And it was long overdue, I think. So, because they just were so innovative and, you know, the first rock and rollers of wrestling, and they did a lot of firsts. So I think it was way overdue. And I was proud to be there. I cried a lot. So I was just super proud of my dad, my uncle, and really wish that Uncle Buddy and my dad could have been there. But I got to spend time with like my mom and Buddy's wife, Janice, and Buddy Jr. and Michael and my brother. So it was nice, family time and just crying and loving each other.
And it was awesome. I'll tell you, like I like I said, I'm a professional wrestling aficionado, and the NWA is what made me become a wrestler. Okay. Now, I remember the very first time I totally fell in love with the Freebirds, and it was when they had their feud with the Von Erichs. And I remember specifically your dad slammed the fucking cage door on Kerry Von Erich's head and cost him the NWA World title. And I was like, yep, that's the shit. And then they, the whole Freebird rules, like even now, 2021, the gimmick is still alive. So,
oh yeah, just
saying, the Freebird rule, man, and any two can defend the title, no matter who it is. But I'm, like me and Buddy Roberts Jr. had this conversation, and I'm having it with you now. It's always cool to have a second generation star not be a second generation star, but blazing their own trail. And I'm very proud of you for going out and establishing your own legacy and not living off of the legacy of your parents or brothers and sisters. You're out there busting your ass doing it, and you're not like taking any. Well, that's Terry Gordy's daughter. Give her a push. No, you're out there fucking making it happen for yourself. I'm very impressed and very proud of you.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, actually. So you just made my night. So thank you.
I'm glad. I like I say, I tell it like it is, man. I tell it like it is. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find this amazing woman online, you can look her up on Twitter, and don't be leaving those nasty DMs, boys. You can find her at twitter.com/Miranda Gordy. You can also find her on Instagram under Miranda Gordy. Now, look, she has a Pro Wrestling Tees page. Tell them what your Pro Wrestling Tees page is.
It's under Miranda Gordy.
Hence the
you
joke,
just look up Miranda Gordy. I keep it simple so that I can remember it and so you can remember it.
Oh my God.
I try not to complicate things.
I literally forgot my Pro Wrestling Tees page like 3 times. and you call them, and Ryan's always like, dude, it's just under your name. Like, oh, I'm glad you said that, because I totally forgot what it was. But you can find her under everything. Miranda Gordy, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I don't know. I mean, whatever.
Snapchat, Facebook. I don't have a TikTok yet.
You need to get one. That's where it's at. Trust me. If you go look at my TikTok right now, you're gonna say this dude is doing way too much. As a matter of fact, during this podcast, I was doing a TikTok while we were doing the commercial break. Just saying.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm just playing. But I do that. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to watch this show, you can find us on Xfinity Link TV here in Portland. Monday nights, 10 p.m., channel 11. Tuesday, 10 p.m., channel 22. Wednesday, 9 p.m., channel 23. Man, that is a mouthful to say. You can find us on Anchor. You can support the channel, support the podcast. Anchor.fm / the Roundtable Podcast #support. Whew. All right. You can find us on Twitch, BCW Worldwide TV. You can find us at youtube.com at the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast now. You can also find us on Anchor FM. You can find us on every major podcasting network station out there by looking us up. Google, Spotify. You can get her on Anchor. You can get her on Apple. You can get her on Pandora. You can get her on iHeartRadio. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been The Franchise with your girl right here, Miranda Gordy. Hey, Miranda, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun.
You got a seat at the table whenever you want to show up. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night.
Probably should unmute yourself.
You son of a bitch.
That was a great
I
interview.
hate you right now, Tony. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Freebird female herself. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Miranda Gordy. Always fun to sit down and talk with her. We share a lot of memories and a lot of good times, man. And I'll tell you, things get better and better every day with the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. We have amazing people like that on the show. And like I said, next week's going to be pretty lit itself.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't found us online, you need to go like, click, and subscribe. I'm telling you, this podcast is awesome. The people who make this podcast are you, the listeners, the ones who watch, the ones who comment in the comment section here, the ones that download us on all the podcast stations that we're on.
Yep.
Thank you very much for joining us here each and every Wednesday night. And Tony, tell them what they can watch us on TV, man.
Well, one more time, we'll go through it. Every Monday night, 10 p.m. on Xfinity and CenturyLink Prism. That's on Channel 11. That's the first run. If you missed that, you can catch the replay on Tuesday night, 10 p.m., Channel 22 Xfinity, Channel 8002 CenturyLink Prism. And if you missed that, you got one more chance to watch the show Wednesday night to 9 p.m., Channel 23 Xfinity, Channel 8003 CenturyLink Prism.
That is a mouthful. It surely is a mouthful. And if you want to look us up online, if you want to find out where you can see the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast, that's pretty simple. Pretty simple. You can find us on Pandora. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Google. You can find us on Apple. You can find us on Anchor FM. Ladies and gentlemen, you go to Anchor FM. Anchor is a great tool. That tool helps us week after week after week to put on this podcast and to deliver the great information that we do every week to you guys. And look, ladies and gentlemen, you can support the channel easily. Go to Anchor FM / the Roundtable Podcast / support. You can like, click, subscribe. You can donate. You can help your brothers out. You can help us keep this podcast going because everyone loves the podcast, even that goof sign guy, because sign guy is and for those who are asking about this cool jacket and this hat, you can find it easily at www.503originals.com. You can get hats, you can get beanies, you can get little coffee cozies for your cups, you can get lanyards, you can get cool hoodies, you can get women's shirts, you can get t-shirts, shirts from Portland, Oregon, like say Burnside, they say all the other freaking streets here, man. Like, just look, like, click, subscribe, join the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast, and for your boy Tony the Burns, I am your boy, the franchise. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here at the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. We will see you next week.